Good morning. My name is Bill Meese, and I am the chair of the MOBCI Steering Committee. I want to welcome you all to the MOBCI's 18th annual conference. I say it's annual even though last year we didn't have a conference thanks to COVID, and we were beginning to wonder whether we'd have one this year. But thanks to the wizardry of technology and Zoom, here we are this morning. One of the things I would like to ask you all to do is, if you would go to the chat box and type in your name and your organization affiliation. We probably should have asked that during the registration process. But doing this for the first time, at least MOBSY doing this for the first time virtually, it's one of the things that kind of slipped through the cracks. Although we're not face-to-face, which was what we dearly wanted to be so that we could renew acquaintances with many people that we only see this time of year at the annual conference. Zoom does have its advantages, and one of those is that people that wouldn't normally be able to get to Columbia to join us face-to-face are able to join us virtually. And as a result, I'd like to just mention that what MOBCI is. I think John Burke last evening described MOBCI quite well, as did Mark Robbins, but some of you may not have been there. MOBCI is a diverse group, and when I say diverse, we define the term. We have local chapters of national organizations, we have national organizations, we have state agencies, we have federal agencies that are affiliated with MOBCI. We have people that go out and watch birds, and we have people that go out and want to shoot birds. So you can't get more diverse than that. But the one thing that holds us all together is the fact that we are all interested in conservation and all that that means for the preservation and some of the discussion today, restoration of all of the bird species. To date, MOBCI has 76 organizations that are affiliated with us. And the purpose is to work together to conserve and restore bird populations. These groups recognize that MOBCI as an organization is much stronger as a result of all of their participation. And it's so easy to become an affiliate. All you have to do is go to the MOBCI website, which is, interestingly enough, MOBCI.net, and fill out the memorandum of agreement. And this is one agreement that isn't going to cost you any money. There's no fee, there's no dues, there's no nothing, just the fact that you are interested in birds and want to make your voice even stronger by being a part of MOBCI. The other thing that happens this time of year, in addition to this annual conference, and I would say this General Assembly meeting, is we publish our newsletter. This comes out once a year, usually just before the annual conference, and it is available online to anyone that goes to the MOBCI.net website. It has a wealth of information in it, including a list of all of the affiliates. If you see a friend affiliate that you belong to and one that you think ought to be a member, take note. Something else that's in the newsletter is the request for proposals for projects that that people will be sending in this year. I want to give a shout out, I guess you'd say, to the editor of the newsletter, Allison Vaughn, and also to the wizardry technologically of Doug Miller, who puts the whole thing together so that it looks nice, reads well, and is available online. Following along on this General Assembly meeting, normally we would be approving the minutes from the previous General Assembly. But the previous General Assembly was 2 years ago. Some of you weren't there, and there are those among us that are as old as me and can't remember that far back. So that seems somewhat irrelevant. But back then, one of the things that was relevant was the fact that MOBCI was supporting Lost Bluffs National Wildlife Refuge and their seeking of a National American Wetlands Conservation Act grant. And these grants are hundreds, millions of dollars. And one of the ways that these projects are evaluated is the partnerships that projects have, and not just people that have say, hey, this is a great project, but people that actually have skin in the game, people that put money where their mouth is. And MOBSI was a big supporter of this grant request. And so what little money we have, we put into that, and we asked our affiliates if they were interested in sending donations to MOBSI, which we then bundled and challenged other organizations to partner with us to support this project. To me, this illustrates the strength of MOBSI when we can go and support a project and say, it's not just us, here's money, and here's 76 other organizations that agree with us and are putting money into it too. And so that's a huge deal. And the newsletter does have an article on Lost Bluffs National Wildlife Refuge and the work that they are doing. So we talked a little bit about money there for Lost Bluffs, but I'd like to turn the meeting over here for a moment to David Erickson, who is an unsung hero behind the scenes and is the treasurer for the MOBSI Foundation. Dave, take it away.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Bill. For those familiar intimately with MOBSI, the financial activities of the organization are handled by the MOBSI Foundation, which is a organizationally separate entity entirely, but clearly, the MOBSI Foundation works to serve the financial interests of the Missouri Bird Conservation Initiative and is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. Our financial assets are organized in 3 locations. At the Central Bank of Boone County, hosts a checking account, and this checking account is our organization's operating account. We also have, for purposes of our annual meeting and donations, a PayPal account, and we have an investment account with 2 funds within that investment account. And I'll go through those. All of our financial activities for the past year are highlighted on this single page. During the period from June 27, 2020 to August 22nd, 2021, our operating account and central bank began with a balance of $896.61. We had $4,245.20 in deposits, and that seems like a lot until you consider that virtually all of those deposits were from our investment accounts. So 3 grants were funded for the Jerry Wade Youth Habitat Education Program, and we also moved $2,500 from our reserve account back into our operating account. Since during 2020, we had no income. We also had $2,454.04 in expenditures, and the current balance at Central Bank is $2,687. PayPal is used simply to receive money for purposes of our annual meeting and donations. And recent donations, as of the time of the preparation of the financial account, gave us a balance of $96.12. Because of our exposure to the stock market and other equities, investment returns for the past year at the Vanguard Group, where our investment accounts are held, were very good. The Jerry Wade Yep Fund has a current balance of $41,951.75 and currently has $10,304 in unrealized gains, to give you a reflection of how good those gains have been. In addition, we made 3 redemptions or withdrawals of $500 each to fund Jerry Wade Yep grants. The operating reserve fund has a current balance of $4,191.59, and during that same period saw $2,030.63 in unrealized gains. In addition, to fund our operations, our normal operating expenses, which are highlighted in the expenditure summary, we transferred $2,500 from the reserve account to our operating account. The total of all MOBCI assets is $48,927.23, and the organization remains in very good financial health. Having said that, I would stress the importance to all of you of the donation tab on your registration page, and also our annual auction, which our income from conference registration and the silent auction our only sources of income. So please be generous, and if you aren't successful in bidding for an item, I would encourage you to take that amount and donate it to MOBSY. And Bill, that concludes my report.
David, thank you very much. You're doing a fantastic job, particularly when you ask people to make donations, and a treasurer is always looking for more money. But we really appreciate Dave's work. He's behind the scenes, and a lot of people don't realize that he's there, but his job is integral to the success of MOBSY. Having dispensed with the financial report, one of the things that we do every year is, with the annual conference, is to vote for representatives on the steering committee. The steering committee is composed of 18 volunteers from various affiliates, and they serve a term of 2 years. So every year, 9 representatives are up for election or re-election. So we have put together a slate of candidates, and I would request that you exercise your vote for those candidates. As I say, these are people who volunteer. MOBSY meets every other month, which doesn't sound like much, but on the other hand, all of our work is pretty much done between those times in terms of evaluating the projects that are submitted for funding. All of the work that goes into putting this program together. So there's a lot more meetings, emails, phone calls, etc. The people up for re-election are Jean Favara from St. Louis Audubon Society, David Graber from Ducks Unlimited, Steve Hying, Missouri Falconers Association, Tara Holman, Audubon Center at Riverlands, Norman Murray, Missouri Department of Conservation, Stephanie McLaren is going to be stepping in for the Missouri Department of Transportation, Brooke Widmer, For Missouri Prairie Foundation, Paige Whittick, Missouri River Bird Observatory, and Bill Meese, that would be me, for Columbia Audubon Society. Please cast your vote for the slate of candidates. Okay, done with that particular bit of business. The next thing is to let you know what we've done this past year. We receive projects that are looking for funding, and those projects come to us for evaluation, and then we decide which ones are valuable enough for funding, and we forward those on to the Missouri Department of Conservation. This past year, 7 projects were submitted for review. Of those 7 projects, 5 were referred for funding, and the funding that they received totals to the tune of $86,500, which is a nice chunk of change. And keep in mind that every dollar that they receive for a grant, from the grant, they have to match. And oftentimes the match exceeds the actual grant that they receive. So you're really talking in excess of $173,000 of on-the-ground habitat improvement. And I'll go over those with you real quick. St. Francis Mountains Natural Area. This is a landscape scale restoration and protection of woodland and forest bird species. It received $25,000. This project includes 4 burn units totaling 23,000 acres of glade, woodland, and fen natural communities with a high potential for priority bird habitat improvement. There was also wood thinning associated with it. The Missouri Prairie Foundation received $25,000 for its 400-acre prairie grassland in Coal Camp Prairie's Conservation Opportunity Area. And this is also an Audubon important bird area. They're going to do invasive plant removal on 208 acres. They're removing brushy draws, which are causing fragmentation in the prairies. They're doing a prescribed burn on 255 acres, as well as 11 acres of tree thinning. The next project that was funded was a new expansion of and prairie rehabilitation at Riverland's Migratory Bird Sanctuary. This received $25,000. This is a conservation opportunity area and an important bird area. And it's going to expand prairie habitat on 65 acres. The next project for funding was tree and brush removal at Prairie State Park. And this project will receive $6,100. This is in the Osage Plains ecoregion and the Liberal Prairie Conservation Opportunity Area, as well as the Regal Tallgrass Prairie Natural Area, and has been designated as a priority geography Tier 1. The final project that was approved and is being funded is invasive species control at Quiver River State Park. It will receive $5,400. And this project is within the North Woods Wild area, and it's in the watershed of the Big Sugar Creek, which has been designated as an outstanding state resource water. And it's within a priority geography Tier 2. One of the things you may have noticed with these 5 projects is that they're in conservation opportunity areas or Audubon important bird areas, or they're in priority geography areas, Tier 1, Tier 2. The higher tier, or I guess I should say the lower the tier, Tier 1s are better than Tier 2s. So anything you can do to find areas and projects in these areas that have been designated as having the greatest impact and the greatest likelihood of affecting bird populations, forward those projects in. And having sat in on the review process, which is really quite extensive, it's an agonizing process, quite frankly. We just don't have as much money as we have projects that we would like to fund. All of the projects are worthwhile, but we have to make choices. So the more specific you can be for your project, how many acres are we talking about? How many miles of fire lines are we talking about? What are you actually doing? The more specificity you can give, the easier it is and the better it is to be able to compare these projects side by side. And the whole request for proposals is available on the MOBCI.net website, and all of your questions should be answered there. And I encourage you to look at that if you have a project that you think might be of interest to and have an impact, a positive impact on birds. So that's what one of the main things that MOBSI does, is to evaluate these projects. And these are large scale projects, large dollar amounts involved. But a number of years ago, Jerry Wade felt that, you know, we should be sponsoring and funding smaller projects, particularly projects that have an educational component, so that we're encouraging people to get out and to get knowledgeable about nature and the importance of habitats and ecosystems. And so he was the first to provide seed money for the Jerry Wade Youth Habitat and Education Program. This 2 years ago, we didn't have anyone that applied for this particular grant process. Last year, one, and this current year, we have had 3 projects that we have funded with $500 for each one. One was the Carl Junction Outdoor Classroom Prairie Reconstruction. There was another project at the Van Buren R1 School Hummingbird Project. And the final one just recently was the Foundry Art Center Butterfly Garden in St. Charles. And I call your attention to that particular project because it's highlighted in the newsletter that it just came out. And MOBSI was specifically asked if we would like to have a representative attend the kind of the groundbreaking and planting some of the natives at that. And so I was able to attend that. Even the mayor of St. Charles came out to dig holes and put native plants into the ground. So that is another application. It's a fairly simple application, and it's also available on mobsy.net. So if you know of a school or a church or anybody that wants to do some sort of a habitat improvement projects that has a large educational component associated with it, take a look at this grant. There's no deadline on it. We take the requests on a first come, first served basis. So this pretty much ends the General Assembly at this point in time. I do want to thank John Burke, who chairs the annual conference committee. These people have put in so much work. Programs like this just don't happen. There's a lot of work that's involved, a lot of meetings. I know there were Zoom meetings, there were emails, there were phone calls. It's really a task of love that does it, because nobody's getting paid to do this. And that's Jean Favara, Michelle Gablesberger, David Graber, Steve Hying, Courtney Nix, Kelly Shrigley Werner, Brooke Widmer, Paige Whittick, Allison Vaughn, and at the last minute here, we've entrusted Chad Doolin as the moderator. I want to thank all of these people for all of the work that they have done to make me look good. So at this point in time, I'm pretty much done. I know you didn't come here to hear me. You came to hear our speakers, and the first speaker will start at 9 o'clock. So you have an opportunity to use the necessary room. You have an opportunity to refill your coffee if that's your desire. I would call your attention to the silent auction items. You can go to the chat box and there'll be a link there that will take you directly to the auction items. Also in the chat box, there is a link to go to the slate of candidates for the steering committee. And again, please put your name down and the affiliate that you're with so that we have that for our records. And that's pretty much it for me. At 9 o'clock, we'll begin with 3 20-minute talks that will focus on the reality and the seriousness of the 3 billion bird decline. And as Mark Robbins said last evening, some of this data is pretty distressing, to say the least. But this afternoon, we'll talk about what we're all here and to see and to hear and what we can do about it. So at this point in time, I will bid you adieu and we'll see you again at 9 o'clock.